Well, hello. Welcome to Orchid Blooms podcast. Welcome back, bloomers, to our summer schedule of twice a month. My name is Orchid Brown, and I am your host with Orchid Blooms podcast. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter, at Orchid I Brown. Happy summer to each and every one of you. I am sending summer vibes your way, positive energy, positive vibes. This summer, I will be focusing on spirituality. I have a few topics that I would like to cover. So we will kick off this podcast episode with the topic of spiritual attacks. I feel that I am a spiritual person, but I do feel that I'm uneducated on the topic. So I really wanted to focus this summer on truly learning about spirituality. I am a self-learner, so I like to do my own research and then take the time to reflect on my lifetime and try to look at situations that I have been through, try to look at what I've experienced and see if it aligns with what I am researching. Can I see what I'm researching in my life? Is it a reflection of my actual history and experience? So that is what I mean by I am a self-learner. Spiritual attacks is something I wanted to research. I can't tell if I am under spirit. Let's find out together, because I am sure you would like to know as well if you have ever experienced spiritual attacks. My big brother and I were having this conversation where he shared that he was under spiritual attacks. I told him I was not aware of what a spiritual attack was, so I could not entertain the conversation out of fear of being wrong when I do give him advice. So it really encouraged me and prompted me to really do the research for this topic so that if my brother does contact me again and we start talking about spiritual attacks, I'll actually know how to entertain that conversation. So let's get into it. What is a spiritual attack? A spiritual attack is a series of events coordinated by the demonic realm to abort promises, shipwreck faith, oppress a believer, or stall out destiny. For those of you who cannot connect with that definition, I created one that was I found one that was a little bit more layman's terms. So a spiritual attack is when your physical body, mind, emotions, and your mental health are attacked by a negative entity or energies from the unseen spiritual realm. You can't see what is attacking you, but you can feel it. So that is the definition of spiritual attacks. Now I would like to provide you with a list of spiritual attacks. The first on the list is physical fatigue. Then there is physical pain, extreme negativity in your thoughts, depression, anxiety, lack of spiritual desire, so connecting with God, stress, doubting your faith, temptation when you weren't experiencing that temptation before, fear, feeling the need to retreat back into your old lifestyle is a good example. Number 12, old emotional wounds resurfacing from the past. This usually occurs for me as memories. My mind throws my mistakes back into my face. It's annoying, but that usually happens when I am fatigued. 13, lies become truth. Feeling of shame, guilt, and condemnation. Thoughts of revenge. Feeling of rejection, loneliness, and struggle to belong. Confusion about purpose. Lack in finances. Constant arguments with loved ones, family, and friends, even in the workplace. People believe their relationships with you is more than it is. If we do not hang out outside work, we are not friends. Lower your expectations. Next on the list is jealous spirits tempting you to like them. 21, curses disguised as blessing. And an example of that would be receiving a promotion, but you weren't ready. A demon disguised as your soulmate could be another example. And 22, intense, life-altering, unexpected struggle. So like loss of a job, loss of a home, health problems, all your relationships falling apart. 23, consuming harmful and choosing harmful lifestyle. That could be drinking a lot of caffeine, lack of sleep, insomnia, abuse of medication, which could be substance abuse, but we'll still leave it there. And overactivity. 24, extreme frustration, lack of peace, strong urge to quit assignments. So I have about 26 on my list, and I did not want to go into much detail about all of them, but I can say that I have experienced majority of these things. I've experienced physical fatigue. I've experienced physical pain. I have experienced times of extreme negativity, especially, in my mind, my thoughts. Depression, I did experience that. I do struggle with anxiety. And of course, lack of desire to connect spiritually. I have been in that situation before based on some of the spiritual attacks that I have experienced in the past. It just kind of made me withdraw. So there are people who have experienced this. Stress, I still struggle with stress. I'm now working on getting that under control. And I believe my stress, went out of hand because I stopped the lifestyle that I had before. And I know that, on this list is a feeling the need to retreat back into your old lifestyle. But that part of my lifestyle was quite healthy, which was that I went to the gym about 3 times a week. And that was helpful for me managing my stress and anxiety. And I found after COVID happened, it was quite difficult to get back into the swing, maybe because it was lockdown, they locked down and you couldn't go to the gym. And when the gym finally opened, you couldn't really get into the gym because everyone was trying to get into the gym. Plus now you had to select a slot that you can come to the gym. And it was just so annoying. So I just kind of gave up on it, but time passed and I just never got back into the gym. So this is an old lifestyle that I would like to get back into because it does help with depression. It does help with anxiety. It does help with stress. It does help with extreme negative thoughts. And I found that it, helped a lot with my physical fatigue because it got the blood pumping. It got, my heart beating. It was very, very good for me. So I definitely will be going back to the gym. I'm just not sure when. And of course, doubting your faith. I did go through a period where I doubted my faith based on the experience that I've experienced before. And it was a massive attack. It's so much so that it completely derailed me for years. It was something that I just could not get over. And yes, I knew I needed to take responsibility for my part that I played in that situation, but it was still a very traumatizing situation to the point where you won't catch me going into those types of environments. And I'm very distrusting of people from that environment. So that's how heavy I doubted my faith. Temptation, fear is something that we all struggle with. I still have a certain level of fear, but I'm learning how to just accept that I am abundant and to stop living in fear of things falling apart, fear of the next, the shoe dropping. When you finally receive some blessing in your life and you're like, oh my God, finally this worked out, even though it could be a demon. It could be a demon dressed up as a soulmate kind of example, and you think it's great, but then you're secretly waiting for the next shoe to drop to show that everything that you have is it's just not it was all a lie. It wasn't real. So there's that fear that a lot of people have, and I can say that I have experienced that as well. So the need to retreat back into my old lifestyle, I can't say that I have experienced that, but I can say that the feeling to retreat, there's something that I broke in myself years ago, and that was, emotional shopping. And sometimes when I'm experiencing extreme emotions, especially if it's not positive, I feel like I need to go and buy myself something new so I can feel better about myself. So I feel like that could be an example of myself, of feeling the need to retreat, going back to an old life, looking for that feeling, for that moment where I don't feel this extreme emotion, right? And of course, there's the next one on the list, which was like old emotional wounds resurfacing from the past. I already told you about that as I, was going through the list. And that is something that I do struggle with. I really do. It just pops into your head and you feel it. And then you feel that frustration, you feel embarrassed because you're like, oh my God, why did I do that kind of thing? And it just makes you say things to yourself as though, oh, you're so stupid. Like, why did you do that? But you're cursing yourself when you do that. So these memories come up just to get you to curse yourself. Lies becomes truth. We'll go over that a little bit later. Feeling of shame, guilt, and condemnation. I cannot say that I have experienced that. But I do know people that have, like, they've made a mistake and they've, experienced or committed the ultimate sin in their mind and in their eyes, based on their values, based on their morals. And they carried this shame and this guilt and condemnation, and they drag themselves to hell. Like, no one's doing it for them, but they will drag themselves to hell with the shame, guilt, and condemnation. And they would tell me about it, and I looked at them like they're crazy. Like, who chooses death? Like, you're killing yourself. Just forgive yourself. And they're like, but I forgave myself. I'm like, no, not if you're feeling this much level of shame and guilt and condemnation. Like, every single time I talk to you, it's like you're beating yourself up. I just need to be better. I just need to fix this. I'm like, no, the damage has been done. Forgive yourself and move on. And if the other person cannot move on with you, just accept that. Just accept that this happened and go with it. You know what I mean? So I know people who feel that on such a level, like it's so extreme that even I'm uncomfortable. And in my mind, I think, not even my mind, I even told this person, I said to her, I understand that you want to sacrifice yourself over what you have done, but think about the people that love you. Think about the people that have whose lives have been changed because you have entered it. Just because you made this one mistake, understand that, you don't make mistakes alone. You can't take the sole responsibility for this onto your back. You just can't. It's death. You're choosing death. But I don't think she really understood. Like, she's a Christian and she knows what I mean by choosing death, but she wasn't connecting what she was doing to killing herself and not choosing to walk in purpose, not choosing to walk in life and say, hey, you know what, we're human, we make mistakes. I will do better. You can't change the past, but you can try to do better. So, thoughts of revenge. This one, oh my goodness. There are a list of people that I would love to get revenge against, but you know what scares me the most? Bad karma. Yeah, bad karma. I don't need that. I really don't need. I've seen how bad karma can just derail people's lives and suck you dry. Nope, not today. As much as I want revenge against you, I would rather wait until you fuck up and cause yourself to perish. Well, not perish, but just so you can feel what you do to other people. So thoughts of revenge, I do have it. I just don't act on it because, again, my fear of bad karma is something that is real. It's very much real. Feeling of rejection, loneliness, and struggle with belonging. I will discuss that a little bit later. Confusion about purpose. I can say that I have experienced that many times, but I feel looking back, because I don't have that issue now, looking back, I realized that the reason why I was so confused is because I had too many people in my energy, too many people trying to pull me in different directions. And because I'm being pulled in different directions and my mind was just not focused on what is meant for me, I became confused. I came confused about my purpose. And so that went on for a long period of time because I did not know how to close my energy so that whatever somebody else is projecting into my energy or projecting into me would not affect me. So that's something that, looking back and doing the research on spiritual attacks and spirituality, I just realized that's what was happening to me. Lack of finances, man, that is something that I struggle with. And you know what the funny thing is? I didn't struggle with it before, but then all of a sudden something changed one day. And for some apparent reason, I just could not keep it and get it together. I mean, my father is the type of man that knew how to make money. But his issue was that he knew how to make it, but he just didn't know how to keep it. It was always slipping through his fingers, but he always just made money. It just always slipped through his fingers. And then there's my mom, who wasn't necessarily very good at making money, but she knew how to keep it. She knew how to save it. She knew how to invest it. And so they were a good partnership for that purpose, but just not good together. And so I hoped that I took a piece of that from them and that it was in me. And at some point, I was carrying both of these things inside of me where I knew how to make money and I also knew how to save it. But there came a time where I couldn't make it. For some apparent reason, finances, money just did not attract to me. And I just could not understand it. Everything that I touched just did not produce like it did before. And so because of that, my savings started to suffer. And so it went on for a very long time. And to this day, I don't know what happened, but maybe I'll learn about it, as I learn more about spirituality. The next one on the list that I've already mentioned is constant arguments. And I did give you a description, but I feel like I gave you two different ones. So yes, I have had arguments with loved ones, especially family and friends. And when I mentioned in the workplace, I should have separated that and explained it a little bit more, but I will do that right now. So when I said that people believe their relationships with you is more than what it is, when you go to the workplace, you're friends with people at your workplace, but a lot of people take it really personal and they think that the relationship that you have with them at work is more than what it is. They think it's a full-blown friendship, and it's not. When you come to work, that you're nice to this person, you'll have conversation, you'll ask them how their weekend is, you'll listen to them talk about their lives, but once you leave the workplace, you don't think about them. You don't have their number. You don't text them on a regular basis. You don't go out eating or hang out with them. They're not your friends. They're not invited into your world, the world outside your workplace, the world that you keep close to your heart, the world where you can be who you are, who you really are. You know what I mean? But there are certain people in the workplace that just kind of are just so clingy that they feel that, you guys talk, so you guys are really good friends. And it's just not the case. So for me, there is a line that I have in the sand. You are an acquaintance. You are a coworker, a friend, a coworker friend, but only at work. This is the space that you belong in. If we do not hang out outside work, we are not friends. So please lower your expectations, because if you are not invited over to my home, if I don't bring you out and introduce you to my friends or show you a bit of my lifestyle or what I enjoy, we are not friends. And so there are people that will argue with me about that, and that's really not how I feel. That's not the case. There's acquaintance, there's friends, and then there's like people that are going to be in your life for a lifetime. And sometimes coworkers they're not that type of people for me. So the next one was jealous spirits. This I struggled with for years, and I may actually go into it a more in depth later on, but let's just finish going through the list, because again, I want to go over this list and just kind of talk about how many of these spiritual attacks I've actually experienced. And I may be currently experiencing some of them, but I'm not really sure, because again, I'm just doing the research. So 21, of course, is curses disguised as blessings. And I've given you 2 examples of that. And yeah, I have, met people who, showed me that they were charismatic, and, they connected with me. They're all of a sudden, they're into the same exact things that I'm into. And then you get to know them a little bit, you hang out with them, you spend these times with them, and you realize they just switch out of nowhere, and they change and they turn into something else, more ghoulish or something. That's my imagination getting away with me here. And that, to me, it was like a demon disguised as your soulmate. A soulmate doesn't necessarily mean that you're intimate with a partner, and for me, but I use soulmate because that's what a lot of people would connect with. But you can actually meet friends like this, and you wonder, like, who are you? Yeah, I've experienced that. So curses disguised as blessings, they seem like they were a blessing when you first met them. And then once you get to know them and you start seeing like their demons come out, you're like, okay, you are not a blessing. Please leave. Shut the door, burn the bridge, lose my number. I don't know you. And the next on the list is intense, life-altering, unexpected change. I have experienced everything that I discussed with you, I shared with you. Loss of a job, loss of a home. Have I lost a home? Okay, no, I take that off. I have never lost a home. Health problems, all of your relationships falling apart. That I have experienced. I have genuinely experienced. Consuming harmful and choosing harmful lifestyle. I have experienced that as well. I struggle with insomnia, especially when I'm going through something. Caffeine, this year I cut it out. I think I maybe have coffee twice a month, maybe once a month, but I stick to herbal and green tea now to not put myself in a situation where I get addicted to caffeine, because that can also contribute to my physical fatigue. So I had to really purge that from my system. And so, extreme frustrations, I've been there. Lack of peace, and I love peace. Man, do I love peace, but there are certain times where things are coming at you on a rapid pace, all at once, in all directions, and it completely disturbs your peace. It completely distracts you from what your purpose is and what you're supposed to do. And so it just puts you in a state where you just become the type of person that procrastinates. You're not motivated, because you associate your motivation and discipline and trying to get there and working towards something as a bad thing, because again, you have so many things being thrown at you whenever you go back on your path. So yeah, lack of peace, that I experience a lot. Strong urge to quit assignments. I can't say that I have felt a strong urge to quit assignments. I've felt a strong urge to quit a job, but never an actual assignment. Or maybe a job is an assignment, so that could actually fall under spiritual attacks. So I wanted to go over that quickly. I was kind of nervous doing that because I felt like this podcast episode was going to end up being 2 hours long. And I'm like, I can't have that. The goal is to keep my podcast episode 30 to 45 minutes because some of us have lives and we don't have time to be sitting around listening to an 2 hour long podcast episode. We're busy. And shit's hitting the fan. If you look at the news and social media, it's like everywhere you turn, every time you open a social media app, it's just something. So these are just some examples of spiritual attacks. Now that I have gone over the list, there are only 2 on that list of 26 that I can say I do not experience. And that's pretty scary. So out of a list of 26, only 2, actually, I think there's 3 because I went over the list again and I started to like check them off with you. So I think there's actually 3 on the list, or was it 4? I think there's 3, but the 4th one, with the assignment, I think I changed it to quitting jobs. So yeah, that I just switched it. But so technically 4 since I switched the wording. This means that I have been under spiritual attack for years, and that's what's scary. I can't believe this as I'm going through. I just can't. This whole time, without understanding, I have been under spiritual attack for years, and I just didn't know. I didn't know. The saying is, the enemy is out to steal your peace. The whole time. This whole time for me, the enemy has been out to steal my peace. Since I didn't understand it, I just allowed it to happen because I figured this was a part of life. I mean, who doesn't experience setback? But it was kind of unnatural because it happened back to back to back to back to back. And it just never ended for years. It was just constant. And so looking back now, I'm kind of like, yeah, that was not natural. Like there are people that go through things and it's maybe a season, but this was back to back to back to back to back to back, and it wouldn't stop. It would not stop. And so, yeah, now I understand it because it was so unnatural, because it was supernatural. It had to be a spiritual attack, right? I don't think I'm crazy. Now that I'm doing the research, I'm not crazy. I mean, I fought back in my own way, but I could not truly trust again after experiencing all of this. And it kind of put me in a state of fear. After all my experiences, I just did not expect good things to happen and for 10 bad things to just show up and slap me in the face right after. And now it was all spiritual attacks. It was just crazy. It's just crazy to me. So the 2 items on that list, 2 items, I'll focus on just the 2 because I did not touch on those when I was going through the list the second time. The 2 items on that list of 26 that I could not claim for myself was lies about lies becoming truth, and feeling of rejection, loneliness, and struggling to belong. With lies become truth, I could not identify with it because even in my confusion, I knew who I was. And no one could tell me otherwise. I am a stubborn person. If I don't feel it, I don't believe it. I may think about your projection and I won't claim it. I may identify with some aspect of it, but I know where it is coming from. And due to that energy, I will reject it. Like I said, it's in previous podcast episode, energy is power. You know what is your energy from what is not your energy. And a lot of people can project their energy into you and you start to feel what they're feeling. And I guess because I'm an empath, people can do that, or I can absorb it by accident and start to feel it almost. Or if they're telling me a story about what they're feeling, I tend to feel it as well. So empathy can be a double-edged sword sometimes. For me, it's a double-edged sword because sometimes I just can't control it. I don't know how to block my energy so that I can't receive yours and you can't receive mine. But energy is power. But if you can recognize what is your energy and what is not, you are powerful. How you can tell that someone is projecting their energy into you is when you feel uncomfortable. You feel like something is inside of you that does not belong there. You can feel it. You can feel that this isn't right. You need to leave my body. So if you are wondering how you can detect if someone's energy has been, projected onto you or inside of you, just be quiet for a moment, stay still, just focus. If you can't focus with your eyes open, keep your eyes closed. I can do it with my eyes open, but I can always sense when there's an energy inside of me that does not belong to me and does not serve me. And so when that happens, I push it right out and I say I reject it. And you can do that too. The second item, as mentioned, was feeling rejection, loneliness, and struggling to belong. I could not identify with it because I don't know anyone that has not felt rejection, loneliness, and feel the need to belong. I did not see it as an attack because who has not been experiencing these things from childhood? Everyone experienced this. When you experience it enough, you are desensitized. You pick yourself back up and move on. I find this to be more of a blessing. I am not interested in being a part of a clique. I love being free to do whatever I want. No peer pressure, no bullying, no abuse, no gaslighting, none of that. I move to my own beat. I love my own presence. I do not feel alone. Too many people want to know me because I come off mysterious. The downfall or downside is that you have no peace. So I don't struggle with loneliness. I love peace because I don't struggle with loneliness. Rejection may be more of a benefit for me than for others. You hear stories from people that have never experienced rejection and they are miserable for it because when they do, it just completely destroys them. All I can say is that thank you, Jesus, for saving me. Rejection for me is a blessing. It's very odd when I hear people say that they are so traumatized by rejection because I guess they can't look past the moment and look into the future, or they don't see the signs that show, when you talk to one of their friends or you see them with a loved one, or, you go to these jobs and you didn't get the job. But then when you speak to people down the line, maybe a month or two later, and they're talking about the toxic environment that they're in at this job, and you look back and you go, oh, thank God I didn't get this job then. That sounds like a horrible place to work. Oh, thank God I didn't end up with that guy then. He rejected me. His girlfriend's miserable and she's complaining. She's always crying like I dodged a bullet. So I don't see rejection as a bad thing. I really don't. It was never a bad thing for me. For all the other, 20 something minus 2 or 4, whichever, on the list I have experienced, which you already know because I went through it with you. But most, I feel, based on my experience, that you need people to contribute to them. Like there has to be another person to make these spiritual attack more effective. Another person has to be used in the relationship or a family member or the workplace to make these spiritual attacks more effective. The wrong people need to enter your life to use their influence as a weapon against you. And it kind of sucks. When I really look at all the times I've experienced this and all the people that I have allowed in my life during that time that really shouldn't have been there, and I did not see the signs, and it took me a while to see the signs before letting them go, I look back and I think, wow, either I was too forgiving or I was too supportive and I just didn't know how to let go of something that really did not serve me or someone. The spiritual attacks that, does not need another person per se, and can be accomplished just through you alone, would be physical fatigue, physical pain. You don't need someone giving you physical pain. It's something that happens within your body. Extreme negativity is in your mind. Depression, anxiety, feeling the need to retreat, feeling shame, guilt, and condemnation. You don't need another person to help you with those things. You can do it all by yourself. Confusion, constant arguments. You're picking fights sometimes. For me, it was people kept picking fight with me. They wanted my energy. But sometimes it could just be you, because you just keep picking fights with people. Lack of spiritual desire, that's a you thing. No one can encourage you to have the desire. It's something that you need to feel within yourself. That desire needs to come from you. Stress, you're the one that feels the stress. Doubting your faith, you're the one that doubts your faith. Temptation, you're the one struggling with the temptation. Fear, it's within you. Old wounds, lack of finances, you're experiencing that. It's not like someone's coming and taking that money out of your hands. It just keeps slipping through your hands. Bills, this, that, rainy day funds being absorbed because of some emergency that came up. All of that kind of stuff, consuming a harmful lifestyle. That as well is a choice. You choose to take the substance. You choose to drink 6 cups of caffeine and first thing in the morning when you wake up because you feel like you need it. You know what I mean? So those are things that you can inflict on yourself. These are things that you personally struggle with. No one does it to you. No one's making you feel these things or experience these things. And so I wanted to kind of separate the list so that you understand what is more of a you thing. Even insomnia is a part of that as well. It's a you thing. It's nobody else. No one's doing that to you. But the other ones on the list, it requires another body. It really does. So all these items require your contribution, 100% all you. It sucks to realize this. All the items I just mentioned is an us problem. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm pointing the finger at you guys, because I struggle with these things as well. We allow most of these things to happen to ourselves. We allow it. We are supposed to have control over ourselves, but most of us would rather have control over other people. Maybe we should start having control over ourselves first and foremost. Maybe we should focus on us. If you know you struggle with fatigue, and I even know I struggle with fatigue, why am I not going to bed early enough? Why am I not making sure that I have the proper sleep? Why am I not doing the things that I used to do that was very healthy in the past, like writing down my thoughts before I go to bed so I don't carry it with me into my sleep and struggle with insomnia? Why am I not making the right decisions? Why am I not putting up boundaries? Why am I not saying no to things that are stressing me out at work? There's so many questions that you can ask yourself. Why are you doing this to yourself? You know what I mean? Why are you choosing to accept this? Why can't you just make a decision, put your foot down, and who cares, what happens? Who cares if someone else doesn't like it? Consider you first. You are not meant to sacrifice yourself. We are our biggest enemy is the point that I'm trying to make. And based on this list, it is crazy that we don't realize our power. We just allow people to walk all over us. We don't put ourselves first. We are willing to sacrifice ourselves. Like I said, looking back, I think, damn, did I not love and respect myself enough to just say, no, I don't need you. I don't want this. And if you cannot bring me peace and be peaceful in my surroundings, in my special place. You coming into my home with this bullshit? Please get the fuck out. You know what I mean? I wish I had done that, but I was just so scared of hurting someone else's feelings. I was so scared of maybe traumatizing the person with my behavior. And it was kind of like, well, it's your fault because you didn't have boundaries in the first place. And because you didn't have boundaries in the first place, you have to now put yourself in a position where you're blowing up at someone and creating trauma. So I have to say that, writing this podcast episode has made me really think, and it has made me take ownership for my part in supporting these spiritual attacks. And it sucks. It really sucks. The one thing I struggle with the most, and I have noticed that it's contributed to a majority of my spiritual attacks, is jealous spirits. I was talking to my brother about this, and I don't know if I went into detail with him when we were talking about it, because he's quite busy and I'm quite busy. And jealous spirits is something that I realize that I attract in my life. I really do. Like, jealous spirits love me. And I have had jealous spirits following me around since I was a child. Jealous spirits love me and they love my energy. These jealous spirits within people have placed me in situations that I didn't want to be in, and I was very uncomfortable. And I would think they are my friends until I lose opportunities and I see how blessed they are in my presence, because prior to my presence, they were just not blessed at all. They were struggling to just find their way. And because they fed off of my energy and, they allowed me to pour into them as much as need be, they literally got up and they acted like, my shit don't stink and I'm better than you by the time I was done. And I was like, excuse me? And I just watched them walk away blessed and happy because they already got what they wanted. Now that they felt that they've gotten enough, they thought they were too good. It took months to realize that they weren't really my friends. And it was in that moment, that behavior where they're acting like they were too good and they felt like they were they were better than me. And who are you? After they dragged their raggedy ass in the beginning with nothing but brokenness. Now that they felt that they've received enough energy and strength, all of a sudden they think, oh, I'm better than you. Oh, honey, let me tell you, months pass down the road and I see these people and they're back to their struggle lifestyle. They're back to being broken, and they're coming up to me acting as though, oh, hey, Orchid. Oh, hi, you look so good. You look so happy. Once you lead a conversation with that, I know exactly why all of a sudden you don't feel like you're too good for me. You want my energy again. Nope. So yes, jealous spirits is something that I dealt with. Things in their lives started to go really good for them because I was giving them my energy. And once I pulled that bitch back and said, yeah, that's my power, I'm gonna take it back, everything fell apart for them again. They went back into their gloom. They had the cloud over their head, and all of a sudden they're trying to look for me and they can't find me. They're sending me messages, I'm not responding. Like, life is good after they've been gone, and they have no more access after that. And I'm really proud of myself for doing that. Really, really, really proud of myself. But I do attract jealous spirits. So now I was learning how to identify them. That's basically where my journey is right now, is identifying jealous spirits, listening to what they say when they talk to me in the beginning. And when I hear certain keywords and certain things that they say, boom, jealous spirit, run. You see me waving at you from afar. I'm across the street. Don't cross the street. You cross the street, I'm across the street. So you're on my side and I'm on your side. You will not catch me in the same room. You won't be catching me sit beside you. I'm just not available. My energy is not free anymore. It's just not. So I'm learning how to identify jealous spirits, and I'm very proud of myself that I have figured it out, and I have been staying away from that and cutting that out of my life. So proud. As per my previous podcast episode, my cutoff game is stellar, but it took some time to get there. Making sure they have no access was tricky for me. But if you fail, try and try again. That's what I did. Till it's permanent. They'll eventually get it. You're cut. You're done. Bye. This triggers these people, and they will throw anything at you. I mean anything. If you are not strong, these attacks leave scars. You start to struggle with thoughts of revenge. You didn't know how much strength it takes to not retaliate. And I promise you, when I retaliate, you feel it. I leave scars because I want you to be as scarred as me. So thoughts of revenge is very difficult for me to fight against, but I fight against it. I have the thoughts, I just don't act on it. These jealous spirits can cause a lot of damage. So yeah, your cutoff game needs to be damn good and it better be ruthless, especially when they are narcissistic. When you release what does not serve you, you make room for blessings. You feel less physically fatigued. I am sure you know exactly what a jealous spirit is, and I really hope that you take this time to kind of look at through your family, your friends group, people you work with, and look for jealous spirits. Even look at it through yourself. Find out if you have a jealous spirit within you. You know what I mean? So jealousy is related to desiring what other people have. Envy enters around resentment of other people's blessings and prosperity. So if you are reflecting on yourself and you want to know, do I have a jealous spirit? That definition that I just gave you, check it. Check yourself. Don't be scared. Admit it to yourself. I'm not asking you to admit it out loud, but admit it to yourself if you do have a jealous spirit. Thankfully, I don't have a jealous spirit. Maybe that's why I attract jealous spirits, because jealous spirits don't seem to attract jealous spirits. It's very weird. But these jealous spirits turn into monitoring spirits, and they speak death into your life. They love to be around you when you are struggling, but disappear when you are thriving. So they can hate and curse you from wherever they are. So I'm still debating if I want to do a podcast episode on monitoring spirits, but I'll think about it. There's only 2 podcast episodes a month, and I may not have the opportunity to go through it, but I'll think about it. But if you feel that I should do a podcast episode on monitoring spirits, let me know on social media. That is what I'm learning to identify now. I don't care how friendly you are. I can detect jealous spirits now, and I am so happy to learn this new skill. So the best way to ward off spiritual attacks are prayer, resistance, which means pushing through it, exercise your authority over your mind, reject what is being projected, and lies disguise this truth, as well as fasting. I didn't want to go into it too much. Again, I didn't want this podcast episode to be too long, but I will kind of cover this part, warding off spiritual attacks, in the next podcast episode, because the next podcast episode will be on spiritual warfare. So that concludes this podcast episode. Thank you for supporting the Orchid Blooms podcast. Please subscribe, follow, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform or the episode. We also have social media pages. Subscribe and follow Orchid Blooms YouTube channel, The Ambitious Obsession Network on Facebook, at The Ambitious Obs on Twitter, at The Ambitious Net on Instagram. Don't forget to share your favorite podcast episode with your family and your friends, and I hope you have a splendid day.